Hey everyone, it's Lizzie, and today I'm going to be talking about the MTV original series, Sweet Vicious. I don't even know where to start with this show. It's so good, and there's so much I'd love to say about it. If I could describe this show in 5 words, I would say feminist, friendship, funny, quirky, and important. And the reason I would say important is because we live in a time now where we have a president who was caught on tape saying that he grabbed women by the pussy. We live in a time now where the Stanford rapist, Brock Turner, got out of jail after 3 months. So the fact that this show, which tackles sexual assault and its repercussions, exists at this particular moment in time seems very important. I'm trying to think of shows or movies that I would compare this to, but it's really hard. This show feels very original. I think the only comparison I really have is to that Ellen Page movie, Hard Candy. It's got sort of all the hallmarks of MTV original series these days, which for some people I think is a bad thing, but for me that just means it's gonna have a dope soundtrack and it's gonna have young, pretty, hip people doing hip people things, which is great, you know? I love that. So in case you haven't heard about this show, which you probably haven't because I think it averaged something around 200,000 viewers for its first season. It's a show about 2 college girls who team up and sort of take matters into their own hands. The first one is Jules. She's this sort of generic seeming blonde hair, blue-eyed sorority girl who moonlights as a masked vigilante at night, or vagilante as they like to call themselves. And then we have Ophelia, who's this sort of badass, genius, wonderkind girl, stoner. She wears leather jackets and beanies a lot, hence the outfit. And they have this sort of really odd meet cute one night when they come across each other while Jules is beating up an assaulter. And from then on, they sort of form this bond. They have these varying skill sets that they use together to find these assaulters and to put their own kind of justice on them, which is usually them dressed up like ninjas, beating these guys up. You also learn early on that Jules's motivation for sort of doing all this is that she herself was raped by her best friend's boyfriend. So the rest of the series follows Jules and Ophelia as they sort of navigate the trial and error of becoming vigilantes. But it also shows Jules coming to terms with what's happened to her, and it also shows them sort of doing normal teenage girl things, you know, having fun, going to parties, meeting boys. So I think that's the truly amazing thing about this show, is that balance strikes. Like, it's obviously deep, dark subject matter to say the very least, but somehow the show manages to balance that darkness with a lot of light and a lot of humor. I can't tell you the amount of times that I actually laughed out loud watching this show. I also really appreciated this show's treatment of the victims and their stories. You can really tell that the writers and creators and anyone else involved with this show really cared about getting these stories out there and really cared about making them accurate. They tackle rape and sports culture. They tackle sexual assault during a hazing process for a sorority. They tackle date rape. And then besides just letting you know that those things happen, they sort of walk you through the process that happens to victims after. In the way that schools will sometimes make it hard for rape victims to see any sort of justice whatsoever. They show the terror that some victims go through when they have to keep seeing their rapist every day because nothing happens to them. It truly feels like a real portrayal of what happens on any number of college campuses these days when a rape is reported. Another thing I really, really loved about this show, and I talked about it a little bit in our Riverdale review, but I definitely cherish good female relationships on TV. And the relationship between Jules and Ophelia on this show is just incredible. I need some better words, but it is truly an amazing relationship. From the beginning, you have this odd couple dynamic, which is the oldest trick in the book, but somehow it still gets me. I eat it up. So you have that, but then the show also allows them to be complicated. There's a part where Jules is sort of pushing back on having to deal with what she's been through, and Ophelia tries to nudge her in the right direction. and Jules sort of just snaps. She yells at Ophelia, she says some pretty mean things, but at the end of the day it shows them always getting past whatever they've been through and just being friends again. It's clearly a relationship that's built on a lot of love and a lot of mutual respect. Too often women are pitted against one another. You see storylines about jealousy over a guy or just any number of sort of petty stuff, and this show eludes all that. It truly values the relationship between Jules and Ophelia. I should also say that this show has maybe one of my favorite scenes on TV ever. There is a scene where Jules and Ophelia are in a car after having accidentally murdered someone, and they start to sing Defying Gravity from Wicked. First of all, I am a huge musical theater nerd and I love Wicked, so that was an amazing song choice. And also, it was just a weird and quirky and cathartic moment for the characters, and it just felt so perfect for this show. So if you needed a truly bizarre and random reason to watch this show, it should be to see that scene. It's in the first episode. Go check it out. So the only criticisms I have about this show are that I'd like to see a little bit more diversity. Ophelia's best friend is a black character named Harris, and he is amazing. He's like the straight man to Ophelia, and they do even tackle racial discrimination amongst law enforcement in one of his storylines. But yeah, the show could definitely benefit from some more diversity both in race and in sexuality, I think. I'd also like to see something that some other people have brought up, which is that they never show a male victim of sexual assault. The first season it's primarily female victims, which is fine, but males do get raped too. So I think seeing a male victim would add some depth and some accuracy to the show. So as of right now, Saturday, February 11th at 3:20 p.m., this show actually hasn't been picked up for a second season yet. It didn't do too well in the ratings, and actually 2 other MTV original shows that did better than it got canceled this past week. But I do think this is a show that is very important. It has potential. I think a second season could more fully flesh out the world, the characters. It could tell a lot more stories. It could address some of the criticisms I said earlier. So yes, I truly do think this show is deserving of a second season. If it sounds like a show you'd want to watch, and it should because it's great and hilarious, you should go to mtv.com where the first season is up in its entirety, and then maybe tweet about it, tell your friends about it, try to be as vocal as possible because I think that's really the only thing that would push MTV over the edge at this point. Okay, that's it from me today. Hopefully this video is enough to get at least 1 or 2 other people to check this show out. If it does, then I've done my job. Click the like button if you like this, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon.